Hello everyone, and welcome back to my YouTube channel. If you're new here, my name is Michael J. Bunch. I'm an author working on my first fantasy novel. So today we're going to dive into a topic that's crucial for every writer: nailing the perfect pacing for your fantasy novel. Or any novel, really. While pacing can be somewhat genre specific, the principles we'll cover today are pretty universal across most genres. So grab yourself a cup of coffee or whatever drink you're into, and let's explore the art of pacing. Pacing is one of my favorite topics, and I've been studying it extensively. I'm really interested in making my own novel feel good to read, to craft it with such well-tuned pacing that readers can't quite describe the sensation. They just know they can't put it down. To me, that's what good pacing is all about. It's when a reader looks forward to reading your book because something about the writing is so alluring, so captivating, that they're drawn into the story effortlessly. One of the best paced books that I've personally ever read is The Name of the Wind by Patrick Rothfuss. If I were to emulate any story on pacing and lyrical prose, it would be Rothfuss's work. The way he weaves his narrative, balancing action, introspective, and world building, creates a rhythm that's simply mesmerizing. Now, before we dive into some practical tips, let's take a moment to consider what some famous authors think about pacing. After all, learning from the masters can give us valuable insights into this crucial aspect of storytelling. So, 5 famous authors and their thoughts on pacing. So, number 1, Kurt Vonnegut. Use the time of a total stranger in such a way that he or she will not feel the time was wasted. So this speaks directly to pacing, keeping the reader engaged throughout the story. Number 2, Elmore Leonard. I try to leave out the parts that people skip. So Leonard's approach to pacing involves cutting anything that doesn't move the story forward, maintaining a brisk pace. Number 3, Stephen King. The most important things to remember about backstory are that A, everyone has a story, and B, most of it isn't very interesting. King suggests that pacing can be improved by limiting backstory to only what's necessary. And 4, Meg Cabot. Write the kind of story you would like to read. People will give you all sorts of advice about writing, but if you are not writing something that you like, no one else will like it either. This relates to pacing in that it encourages writers to trust their instincts about what feels right rhythmically. Number 5, John Grisham. I focus on pacing a lot. I know readers are impatient. There's so much competing for their attention, so my job is to make my books as hard to put down as possible. Grisham explicitly acknowledges the importance of pacing and keeping modern readers engaged. So now that we've gleaned some wisdom from these literary giants, let's look at some practical tips for mastering pacing in your own writing. My 5 tips for pacing. Number 1, vary your sentence structure. This might seem simple, but it's incredibly effective. Short, punchy sentences can quicken the pace, making action scenes feel more intense. Longer, more complex sentences can slow things down, allowing for more introspection or detailed description. By mixing these up, you create a natural rhythm that keeps readers engaged. And 2, use scene and chapter lengths strategically. Short scenes or chapters can create a sense of urgency or indicate that events are moving quickly. Longer ones allow for more depth and can give readers a chance to catch their breath. So don't be afraid to vary these lengths based on the needs of your story. And 3, balance action and reflection. So every high intensity moment in your story should be followed by a period of reflection or downtime. This gives your reader and characters a chance to process what's happening and prepare for what's coming next. It's like the ebb and flow of a tide, constant motion, but with varying intensities. And 4, create multi-layered tension. Don't rely solely on your main plot to drive the pacing, introduce subplots and internal character conflicts. These can maintain reader interest during slower parts of the main story arc. And remember, tension doesn't always have to be life or death. It can be emotional, interpersonal, or internal. And 5, use foreshadowing and callbacks. So sprinkle hints about future events throughout your story. This creates anticipation and keeps readers turning pages. Similarly, callbacks to earlier events can create a sense of satisfaction and cohesion. Both techniques contribute to a well-paced narrative that feels intentional and crafted. Now let's dive a bit deeper into each of these tips and explore how you can apply them in your writing. So, varying sentence structure. Think of your sentences as the heartbeat of your story. Just like your hearts beat faster during excitement and slower when we're relaxed, your sentences should mirror the emotional state of your scene. In a fight scene, you might write, "He ducked, the sword whistled overhead, too close, he spun, thrust, a cry of pain." The staccato rhythm heightens tension. Conversely, in a reflective moment, the sun dipped below the horizon, painting the sky in hues of orange and pink as she stood on the balcony, her mind wandering through the events of the day, searching for the meaning hidden within the chaos. So, scene and chapter lengths. Consider ending chapters on cliffhangers or moments of revelation to drive readers forward. Short chapters can create a just one more mentality, keeping readers engaged late into the night. However, don't be afraid of longer chapters when the story calls for it. A lengthy, detailed chapter describing a pivotal battle or a complex political machination can be just as gripping if the content justifies the length. And balancing action and reflection. After a high-octane chase scene or an emotionally charged argument, give your characters and readers time to process. This doesn't mean your story comes to a halt. Use these moments for character development, world building, or to plant seeds for future conflicts. For example, after a narrow escape, your protagonist might reflect on their mortality, leading to a change in their goals or relationships. And multi-layered tension. While your main character is trying to save the world, they might also be struggling with self-doubt, a rocky romance, or conflicting loyalties. These personal stakes can keep readers invested, even when the main plot is in a lull. Remember, what seems like a small problem to us might be all-consuming to a character. A teenager might be more immediately concerned with an upcoming dance than an impending apocalypse. Foreshadowing and callbacks. Foreshadowing can be subtle. A character's offhand comment might gain new significance later in the story. Unusual weather patterns could hint at a coming magical disturbance. Callbacks, on the other hand, reward attentive readers and create a sense of a well-crafted world. So a fighting technique learned in Chapter 3 could be the key to winning the final battle. A seemingly insignificant character met early on might play a crucial role in the climax. And remember, pacing isn't just about speed, it's all about rhythm, about the rise and fall of tension, about knowing when to press on the gas and when to let your story coast. It's about creating a reading experience that feels natural and compelling. As you write, try to put yourself in your reader's shoes. Would you want to keep reading? Are you giving enough information to keep them intrigued without overwhelming them? Are you balancing action with emotion, plot progression with character development? Ultimately, the perfect pacing comes with practice and intuition, so don't be afraid to experiment, to write and rewrite, to get feedback from beta readers. Pay attention to the pacing in books you enjoy. What techniques do those authors use? How can you adapt their methods to fit your own style and story? And remember, every story has its own natural rhythm. Your job as a writer is to find that rhythm and bring it to life on the page. It's a challenging task, but it's also one of the most rewarding aspects of writing. When you nail the pacing, you create a story that readers can't put down. And isn't that what we're all aiming for? So that does it for today's video. If you found the information useful, please like and subscribe and click the bell icon if you want to be notified anytime I post a video. I'll also leave links to my other social media accounts if you would like to follow me there. And if you want to sign up for my mailing list, I'll leave a link to my website below. Mailing list subscribers will get some exclusive updates on my progress and other goodies. So thank you so much for watching, and keep on writing.